Hey everybody, it's Derek and welcome back to CRM Tip of the Day's Video Tips, your source for tips and step-by-step instruction on the latest version of Microsoft Dynamics CRM. So in today's feature, we're going to continue along our relationship insights discussion and we're going to talk a little bit about the email engagement piece. So we showed you earlier how using the cards and how using some of the auto capture functionality, we now have the capabilities to start looking at and having suggestions for items that maybe we should track or items that need our attention inside the application. Now we're going to look more at the email engagement piece where we're going to send out emails or shared attachments to customers, and we're going to keep track of when they've opened them, how many times they've been replied to, if they've been linked, any of those types of different situations. So those are the things that we're going to look at now as we're going through. So let's go ahead and take a look at what this looks like inside the application. So again, if I go into my Dynamics 365 application and I go into settings and relationship insights, I'll see an area for the email engagement option. So when I click on email engagement, it's just going to walk me through and ask me if I want to go ahead and enable this functionality. And so I'm going to go ahead and begin the setup. And what this is going to do is this is going to go out and just basically provision all the different email engagement services that are needed in order for us to utilize the application inside here. Once the provisioning is done, then I can go in and I can actually start consuming or composing emails that will then be used as part of the engagement piece. So now that it's been configured in the background, I can turn on the email piece and I can hit save. Now, before I can actually start using this, there's two pieces to this. There's the tracked or followed email piece, which is what we have set up and configured at this point. And then there's the tracked or followed attachment piece, which requires a little extra configuration in order to get working. So what you actually have to do from that perspective is you do need to go in, and it runs off of kind of OneDrive for Business and SharePoint integration. So if I go into settings and document management, obviously, the first thing I need to do is make sure that I have server-based SharePoint integration enabled. So I'd walk through the wizard, specify what SharePoint server I want to use, specify what entities I want to enable SharePoint server-side integration for, let it walk through and configure the entities based upon those individual situations. The next piece to that is then I would go in and I would enable OneDrive for Business. Once I've enabled OneDrive for Business, I would come down and go into my OneDrive for Business folder settings and just specify what folder I want to use for OneDrive for Business for then. And then the other piece to this is you have to have document management enabled on the email entity. So I would also want to come into my document management settings and then make sure that I turn it on for the email entity. So, and that is one of the entities that by default, it does not get turned on. So if you just walk through the generalized settings and you don't change anything, the email entity will not actually be enabled. So you would have to come into here, select the email entity, which I already did in a previous situation, but turn on the email entity. Then I could just walk through the rest of the configuration. I hit next, it'll make sure everything works, and then we can go from there. Once you have that piece set up, now you're ready to go ahead and use it for both the email functionality as well as for the attachment functionality. So now we could create an email any number of different ways that we would have created an email inside the application. I could go into a specific account. Inside that account, I'm going to go ahead and open it up. Go into activities. Add an email activity. And so now I'm going to come into here and I'm just going to call this Now, because this is an email, I have all the same capabilities that I would normally have from an email standpoint. I can come down into here. I can add, templates. I could utilize templates if I want. I can insert signatures. I could just simply type in a very simplistic email. Now, if you notice down here, I have my email engagement piece. So right now it's telling me that this is being followed. And so I would have the capabilities, if I wanted to, for some reason, to not follow this email activity, I could do that. Maybe this is a specialized circumstance or for whatever reason it doesn't make sense to follow it. I do have the ability to turn this on and off in order to facilitate that. So what's going to basically happen is, by tracking or following this email, as soon as they open it, I will get a kind of a notification that lets me know, and I'll be able to see that they've been notified or that they've opened it based upon that information in here. The next option that I can see here is my delayed option. So it sees here that we're setting outside of the normal business hours for this particular company. So it tells us that it recommends that maybe we send this at a different time. So I do have the ability, if I want to delay the sending of this email, I can very simply hit delay send. It'll say, when do you want to delay the send till? It says I suggest 10 a.m. today. Sure, that'd be fine. I go ahead, I click on OK, and now it's going to go ahead and delay that. Now, if I don't want it to be delayed, I can come back into here. I can remove the delay on that particular option, and then I'm back to it's going to be sent and ready to go. The other option that I have down here is to set a reminder. So this might be a situation where I have an option where they're not necessarily going to get back to me in a specific situation. This is where I now can configure a condition that defines when I should get a reminder. So if I don't get a reply back from this person within some specific time, I could go ahead and work with it. If it's not opened by a certain date and time, I could go ahead and work and have a reply sent back to me, or I could just have it remind me anyway at any specific time, and then I could have it go in and specify the comment that we would want to use, obviously when it's reminding me. But now I go ahead and click on OK. And so if this email is not opened by the 14th at 6:56 a.m., it's going to send me a reminder and then work with the item from there. Now, the other item to this that we talked about is the attachment piece. And so I'm going to just real quick save this email. So now that I've saved it, now I'm going to go ahead and add an attachment. So I'll browse out just like I normally would and grab the attachment. Now the difference here is, after I hit attach, because I have now added the functionality to do followed or tracked attachments, I now have the abilities to come in here and hit follow. This will then upload it into OneDrive for Business as a link for that attachment. And so that'll now be added to the email as we're going through. Now, as you can see, it shows me that this is a followed attachment. I also would have the ability, if I wanted to do multiple items, I could go ahead and add multiple items into this. The nice thing about this is either way, all of this information is tracked individually. So I can kind of monitor the statistics on the followed attachments, but I can also monitor the statistics on the followed email itself. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to send this email. Excuse me. I'm going to send this email, and then after the customer opens it up, I'll be able to start seeing some of the statistics associated with it. So from a person receiving this email, this is basically what it's going to look like. So I've got my standard email, I've got my attachment. I click on my attachment, it's going to open up kind of a link that's going to take me out into that OneDrive area so I can look at the attachment. It'll populate the attachment inside the application. Here I can see the sample attachment. Now I haven't, obviously didn't put any information in this, but it is just a sample kind of blank document that we can use. And this would take place for every item that I have from a tracked email perspective. But now that that email's been opened, now if I come back into the email, now I can start looking at specific items around it. I can see that it's been opened. I can see how many attachment views have been done within this situation. As far as the activity options, I can see link clicks that have been done, replies. I can see when it was actually just opened. Now, what happens is that it may not necessarily reflect super real time. There is usually a little bit of a delay. So some of the links that I clicked on may or may not have registered in here, but the initial link that I did to open the email has registered. And then as you start interacting with the other pieces, it'll start tracking that and showing you that. So I can see if it was forwarded on, I can see all those individual pieces, and it will show me kind of a timeline of activity based upon those items. So now I can also see that the reminder condition was met, so the reminder's been moved based upon this item. And then we can kind of go through situations from there. So it'll also kind of let you see what's happened, and it'll start to remove some of those little icons and files in there based upon those situations, excuse me, based upon what as the activity has started to happen. So that's going to do it for our email engagement piece of Dynamics 365 using Relationship Insights. I hope you enjoyed our two-part series on Relationship Insights. As you can see, there's a lot of neat things that you can do with it. It's really just a matter of going in there and playing with it a little bit and understanding the full capabilities and potential of the application. So for all of us here at CRM Tip of the Day, this has been Derek saying thanks a lot again for everybody for watching. Take care and have a good one.